since we've been talking about the mayoral race, let's just get into this now. So there was an event, I guess it was yesterday at this point, where a bunch of the mayoral candidates went and spoke at a union hall.
It was a candidate forum sponsored by DC 37, which is like one of the largest like public sector unions in the city.
Right. And Eric Adams didn't even bother to show up. He cited the advice of his lawyers. You should step aside, but sure. Although we do know that, if I guess it's a late March date, where if he steps aside or is removed after that, then they won't have to hold a special election, giving some sort of advantage to a guy like Andrew Cuomo. And I think we can ride it out for a month, hopefully, because I don't want a special election prior to the primary, because right now, Zohran Mamdani has a lot of momentum. I mean, he's in polling second behind Andrew Cuomo. He keeps skyrocketing in the polls. All I'm seeing in terms of attacks against him are, the usual, a socialist. And wow, he stood up against the Israeli genocide of Palestinians at a protest. Why don't you guys keep repeating that? There were many, many New Yorkers who stayed home in this last election cycle, and they cite the genocide of Palestinians as the reason for that. So I don't think that's the gotcha that they think it is. But here is this clip when asked about if they support a rent freeze, and you can see the reaction from the members of this union when Zohran answers.
Will you support a rent freeze?
No.
Okay, right.
If the data supports it.
Will you support a rent freeze?
If the data supports it.
Can we just stop?
Yeah.
That's Brad Lander. So I saw Brad Lander at a Zateo documentary event. One of the, he went to see it. I was like, oh, maybe, he's got good politics. That was a horrible answer.
Brad Lander also there's an old op-ed he wrote in sort of criticizing Zionist, support of massacres years ago, not in this current Gaza massacre. And I thought that's a good thing to say. I think it was in like a Missouri paper or something like that. This is exactly what we don't need. Is this sort of technocratic BS. I got a plan. Check the data. The data's in, buddy. Nobody can pay rent. Freeze it. I'm sick of this. This is, and I think he might win. I don't know. The way the Democratic primary voters vote, I'm concerned about the type of Rorschach test we're about to be subjected to if Zohran doesn't run away with it. I'd love to be surprised by that. But this is a problem within the Democratic primary electorate that this speaks to people.
And I mean, Brad Lander's the guy to have at the very end of your ranked choicing picks, I guess. He's better than some of the other picks up there, but there are people who are definitely preferable.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that people, the first no was Zellner Myrie.
Oh yeah,
he was emphatic with that. He came out right away. Didn't even wait. Nope.
will not be ranking Zellner Myrie.
Yeah, he's not even on the list for me.
Yeah.
If the data supports it.
Let's get that full one again, Bradley. Sorry, I want to get the full Brad Lander lame answer. Yeah.
Will you support a rent freeze?
No.
Okay, right.
If the data supports it.
Will you support a rent freeze?
If the data supports it.
Yes.
He shrugs.
Respectfully, just to be clear, this is for rent stabilized apartment. That's the question, right? Will you support a rent freeze?
Absolutely.
Scott?
Oh boy.
Scott?
Can I get a minute?
No.
No.
Okay. Brother Blake? Will you support a rent freeze?
Yes.
Jessica?
Claro que sí.
Will you support...
So that's Michael Blake and Jessica Ramos who said yes. And who was that? Scott Stringer who said no?
Scott Stringer, yeah. He was the last time around, he was trying to be the progressive in the race, and then he got Me Too'd. So
there's a lot of that in this race. There's a lot of that. I mean, Andrew Cuomo. Apparently,
We got
we're
a lot of
supposed
Me
to forget
Too's. And
about this.
last I checked, Anthony Weiner's thinking about throwing his hat in the ring.
Might as well.
I mean, why don't the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein should run? Well, I mean, why
He
not?
might win based on how New Yorkers vote, honestly.
Spitzer, bring him back. But before I go to
look
this
at the
study,
mayors we've
Brandon,
had. Look at the mayors we've had. When you look at the mayors for the past couple of decades, it is amazing how Bill de Blasio somehow comes out on top. That's how bad our mayors are, that Bill de Blasio looks good in comparison.
He's definitely the best one.
And why? Because he did a major public initiative.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. Everyone thinks of
Surprise.
universal pre-K, and it's Bill de Blasio's doing.
yeah, I mean,
Michael Bloomberg, Eric Adams, Rudolph Giuliani, that's who we voted for.
we can hopefully break from that and show the rest of the country that we're actually sane. Because this is the story that I wanted to really pair this clip with. This came out in the New York Times yesterday. Astounding. It's a study that was done by Columbia University and Robinhood together. And I just want to give some of these statistics for people. A quarter of New York City residents don't have enough money for staples like housing and food. And many say they cannot afford to go to the doctor, according to a report that underscores the urgency of an affordability crisis elected officials are struggling to confront. The report by a research group at Columbia University and Robinhood, an anti-poverty group, found that the share of New Yorkers in poverty was nearly double the national average in 2023 and had increased by 7 percentage points in 2 years. The spike is in part due to the expiration of government aid that was expanded during the pandemic. And then just another paragraph down, this is just incredible in a bad way. The report is part of a roughly 13-year study that surveys a representative sample of more than 3,000 households in New York City. Researchers use a different metric than the federal government to measure poverty, taking into account income, non-cash support like tax credits, and the local cost of living. Under that metric, the poverty threshold for a couple with 2 children in a rental household in New York City is now $47,190. The study found that 58% of New Yorkers, or more than 4.8 million people, were in families with incomes below 200% of the poverty line. About $94,000 for a couple with 2 children, or $44,000 for a single adult. Poverty rates among Black, Latino, and Asian residents were about twice as high as the rate for white residents, according to the report. It also says that 26% of children in New York City live in poverty, according to this analysis. This is the hidden crisis in America. And it's hidden because our traditional economic numbers do not reflect what is happening in our country right now, particularly in areas like New York City, where the housing crisis is as acute as anything, and because real estate developers have decided to make New York into a Disney World for tourists and to make real estate associations as much money as possible selling luxury developments as opposed to actually making this livable. Zohran Mamdani is the candidate that can change all of that. And there were others, right? Like Blake Ramos said yes, that they would endorse a rent freeze. But Mamdani is the front runner that supports it, and he's the one that's introduced it into the debate. The concept of a rent freeze. This is the kind of thing that can help our city. We have it at our fingertips right now. And by God, Andrew Cuomo couldn't even be bothered to show up there, by the way, to that event. We better have learned that lesson.
That's very purposeful. He doesn't want any attention until the very last minute, because he knows the more time there is to look into his record. And I mean, it's not that long ago what he has been accused of. And even if you put aside, even if the sexual assault allegations or sexual harassment allegations aren't enough for voters, I mean, there's so much more when it comes to Andrew Cuomo. Off the top of my head, just think about the IDC. To me, people love to think about what Andrew Cuomo did from the bully pulpit during COVID with Trump in charge. But really what he should be known for COVID is the mass death of our seniors, because he forced them all back into their senior homes, and they all passed it to each other, and there were mass deaths in these homes because of it.
Yep.
New York Post has Cuomo at 38%, Zohran at 12%, Eric Adams at 10%, Lander at 7%. I would say, look, Michael Blake, like that answer. Don't like that you're an Obama guy. I would say endorse Zohran if you're so sincere about it. I would say the same to Jessica Ramos, who has had 1%. I'm not here to just hear good ideas. Zohran has both the organization and the polling. None of the other, every other candidate is superfluous as far as I'm continuing. Now, I will probably make a rational ranked choice vote, but as for right now, it is Zohran, 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 and Zohran.
Yep. We need to put all our energy behind making him the front runner for the left and not do what we did last time, which was split the vote at the last minute, which allowed Eric Adams to win.
We should, at the very least, do what I don't know if you guys remember what what's his face, Andrew Yang and that other person who was running, how they formed like a coalition of telling each other's voters to rank each other. Should at least be doing that at the very least. If you're not going to drop out, at least tell your voters to vote, giving them a whole ticket to vote for.
Yep. Yeah.
There's going to be funny business with this race.
Right. Also, I don't know if all the progressives would actually line up behind Zohran. Like I
would
expect
imagine
that.
At least
I expect
one of
that
them.
from Ramos, at the very
Ramos
least. But Lander and Stringer and Blake, I don't know if they would even tell their voters that it should be their second, third, or even ranked choice at all. They seem like the types that might be anti-Zohran.
Yep. Jerry at the beach says, I think Eric Adams should set his sights larger. President of the United States of America, all the way with E to the A. Future looks bright. He should. But apparently, what did he say? People coming after him is the modern Mein Kampf.
Yeah, it's the modern Mein Kampf. He had a really big doozy the other day, too.
Oh, right. Yeah. He compared himself to Jesus Christ. Here we go.
So, this is a biblical moment. When Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them.
He's enjoying it.
Are you stupid?
What? Who's he talking to?
I mean, my guess is Jamani Williams, chiefly, but
okay.
People who are asking him, saying that he needs to step down.
Did you guys see that
who were telling him he needs to step down?
Did you guys see he was actually pressed on this by, of all places, Good Day New York, like really well? Like I dropped the link in the chat.
Oh my God.
The anchors are like talking to him and refuse to get off topic on this. It's fantastic. I don't know if you want to play a little bit of it.
Let's play it.
It's really good.
Back to an event you had at the Gracie Mansion last night, where you spoke about Black History Month, and in it you said, quote, all these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God forgive them. Are you implying that if you're black, you have to support you?
No, not at all. I'm asking for all New Yorkers to support me.
So who are you specifically talking to when you say Negroes?
Well, who has stepped down? Who has asked me to step down? If you look at that whole speech,
everyone.
The speech talked about the continuation of lighting your flame and continue to light and shine. And that's what we've done in this administration with our team. So those who have called for me to allow my flame to prematurely be extinguished, that's what I'm talking about.
So you're saying all New Yorkers are Negroes?
I thought I was very clear in my definition of what I said. All New Yorkers, we got 8.3 million New Yorkers, 8.3 million people didn't call for me to step down. I get just the opposite when I'm in the streets.
What?
So anybody who's black who calls for you to step down, they need help from God. I'm focusing on this because your use of the word Negro has come up repeatedly over the last couple of weeks. And I think some people actually have an issue with that term. So explain who you're talking to when you use that term specifically.
I didn't say they need help from God. I said pray for them. Wasn't that what I said?
You said, quote, God forgive them.
Exactly. Let's pray for them. Let's focus on this for a moment. Isn't our democracy is based on who the people of the city elect? Why are we trying to disrupt and take the power away from the people of the city who elected me to be the mayor? And then ask the question, what have I done that we're going to usurp that power from the people? I have not been
Getting
convicted of a
indicted.
crime. I've moved the city forward. I've done the job that New York has
You're being
asked me.
extorted publicly.
And so when you have those that are trying to usurp the power of the voting rights of the people, that is not democracy, and God forgive them.
Okay, when you take a look at it,
If you ain't with Eric, you ain't black. That's right. And weren't there opinion pieces about how Eric Adams is the new type of Democrat in the vein of Biden, but younger?
Literally the future of the Democratic Party.
Nate Silver. Nate
Tough
Silver
on
said
crime.
it.
Thank you, Nate Silver.
said it.
Now Eric Adams is using the same tired arguments that Biden was in the 2020 primary when it looked like he might lose, basically telling black people that if you're not with me, if you ain't with Biden, or it wasn't in the primary. I guess it was against Trump. It's still inexcusable. But anyway,
All we need is someone to ask Adams if he's thought about dropping out, and for Eric Adams to go, I'm staying in the race.
I just think it's so funny to compare yourself to Jesus, and then call everyone who is asking you for a step down like a Negro. That's exactly what Jesus would do.
you're
He did seem to also
Forgive them for they know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Forgive those Negroes for they know not what they do. That's exactly what Jesus said, because he was black, obviously, so he spoke like that.
My personal favorite was Eric Adams insisting that he said, pray for them. And then he's quoted with what he actually said, which was not pray for them. And he goes, exactly.
exactly.
I mean,
Not
look,
enough
you can
for. Go ahead.
you can tell he's secretly conservative by that victim complex he has on full display. He should start carrying a cross around with him. So whenever he's feeling, unappreciated, he can nail himself to it.
That should honestly be the imagery on his campaign.
That would be great.
Eric Adams for New York, and then find some way to make one of the letters into an actual cross. Not enough T's in there, but
The movie 12 Years a Slave is actually based on the mayoral tenure of Eric Adams. People don't know that because it was written and produced before he became
Don't give him
mayor.
any ideas. He's going to come out and say this. He absolutely is going to come out and say this.
There's no way he's seen 12 Years a Slave.
he's now invoked Hitler and then also the word Negro to describe what he's going through right now.
Wait, what did he say? Wait, Hitler thing. What did he say about Hitler?
He said this is the modern Mein Kampf, and what he meant, I guess, was that it's a big lie that he's compromised and shouldn't be the mayor anymore.
But Mein Kampf is not the big lie to refer to. That's Hitler's book.
Well, I guess within Mein Kampf, he does talk about the thing where, look, all these other sort of degenerate cosmopolitans are lying all the time with small petty stuff. We can lie about big stuff and get away with it, which I haven't read Mein Kampf, but I guess it's in there, yeah.
Well,
then how do you feel? Then how can you critique our lovely mayor if you haven't taken the time to read his favorite book, Mein Kampf?
Right. I guess we have the clip here. This was his. Okay, so he's referring to Hitler's big lie. Yes, right. But why are we invoking Hitler at all is the question. Here we go.
Well,
Reverend, and I remember listening to some of Dr. King's teaching, and he talked about the book Mein Kampf. And he indicated if you tell a lie long enough, loud enough, people will tend to believe it's true. And that's what you're seeing right there, right now, modern day Mein Kampf. And so we need to break this down in this proper analysis. One of the largest voices out there that is calling for me to step down is the public advocate. I still don't know what he does.
Exactly.
Because it's hard to really serve the city when you wake up at noon.
All right, I think we get the gist. I mean, he's indecipherable. So, anyway.
He's not even
Kyle Leck says 12 years a mayor. 12 years a mayor.
God forbid. That was. We don't need 12 years of Eric Adams.
Right.
We had 12 years of Bloomberg.
well, what they say, if you ask for him to step down, they just put a big N on you.
Yeah.
Jesus
I mean, it's
Christ.
it's really incredible just how bad he is. He's bad. He doesn't even have any sort of good defining quote unquote moments. Like even Giuliani's got his 9/11 moment for him. Like Eric Adams has nothing. He's been a net negative on the city in totality. I don't even know who is an Adams guy. Like I even understand the people who are Bloomberg people. There was a constituency that Bloomberg served. Eric Adams literally just serving nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the real estate companies, especially if you're a Turkish real estate company. But other than that.
Yeah. Recovery Mode says Eric Adams feels like a Nick Mullen bit. Jesus Christ says, I don't condone Mayor Adams. I have no connection to him professionally or personally. Noah from Tampa can't spell American Dream without Eric. Jerry at the beach says, I think, oh wait, I already read that one. Morpheus, hey Emma, speaking of New York politics, did you see that Lieutenant Governor Delgado has announced he won't be running on the ticket with Hochul in 2026? There's a lot of speculation he's going to primary challenge her. He's 100% going to primary challenge her. Richie Torres has also been listed in articles about potentially primarying her, but I actually think Delgado beating him to the punch, like what lane does Richie Torres have? I mean, he'd probably be to the right of both of them, frankly, but I don't know what Delgado's positions are. So it's hard for me to say I support him for a primary challenge without knowing that fully. But it seems like it's likely to be to the left of Hochul. And if that's the case, I'll support him. But I don't know what his platform is going to be. I got to wait and see. He's going to do it, though.
I mean, what we can say is Hochul sucks. Her belated support for the congestion pricing, it would have been nice if it just went through when it was planned, so we'd have even more time and a more severe congestion pricing. So we shouldn't credit her for that, standing up to Trump. And she's also attacking anti-Israel protesters. So screw her.
She's attacking Palestinian history, period. Right. She had CUNY. This wasn't even anything to do with specifically like an anti-Israel or anything like that, or even anti-Zionist per se. It was literally colonialism. A job posting from CUNY, the city of New York, CUNY College, looking for a Palestinian history teacher. And because the topics mentioned in the job post included colonialism and genocide, which are clearly part of Palestinian history, unfortunately, she had them take the posting down, and she called it anti-Semitic.
Yep. Atrocious.
I mean, you don't even need to even talk about recent current events to include the word genocide and colonialism in Palestinian history.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the city, New York last night just had an orange Empire State Building for those that killing about the Bebas children. And, I see a lot of a Jewish Voice for Peace person made the point, what do Zionists expect from this sort of stuff? That we're all going to forget the thousands and thousands and thousands of bodies that Israel has produced with bombs by killing Palestinians over the last year with some atrocity propaganda. And the truth is, yes, and it's not because of anything to do with really Israel, except the structure that they're in, which is settler colonial, exactly what that CUNY job placement wanted to study, because settler colonialism will do that. That's why captivity narratives are probably the oldest genre of American literature, because you like to emphasize the person got captured by the indigenous folks, but then they're back to us to tell us how great now they even have a greater understanding of Jesus. This is just what settler colonial societies will do until there's actually an effort to get that impulse under control and treat people like people and give them one vote. And it's interesting, Chomsky and Finkelstein, I saw something about them. They were both originally sort of two-state solution folks, but coming to the realization that there's no way to move forward unless it is one person, one vote within that territory. And that means that Israel can no longer exist as it does, which is, to state plainly, a ethno-state that is designed to maintain one demographic and minimize another.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.